The railroads came to the area late in the last century and during the first decade of the 20th century and have continued to play a vital part in the development of western South Dakota. In the following segments, we will look at the history of the railroads of western South Dakota, their origins, and their current operations. We will witness steam-powered excursion trains on the former Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy, later the Burlington Northern branch line, high in the beautiful Black Hills. The former Milwaukee line is now operated by the Dakota Southern. We will watch as former Milwaukee locomotives ply their former home rails once more in revenue service. We will take a look at the endless parade of coal trains on the Burlington Northern's main line through the southwestern corner of the state. The first trans-state line, built in the early 1900s by the CNW, is now owned and operated by regional Dakota Minnesota and Eastern. Then hold on for a ride with the Chicago and Northwestern, now a part of the Union Pacific, on the busy line along the eastern slopes of the Black Hills. We will start our journey of western South Dakota railroads in the Black Hills area. The Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy built the High Line through the Black Hills from Edgemont to Deadwood, and then the Burlington Northern operated the line until 1986. The sound of steam locomotives returned to the former Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy branch line from Hill City to Keystone in the summer of 1957, when a group of private investors created the Black Hills Central Railroad. With narrow gauge equipment, the railroad operated 4 miles east of Hill City in the town of Oblivion until 1964, when standard gauge equipment began to roll all the way to Keystone. Rail fans and tourists alike continue to enjoy this scenic trip into time today. We are now rolling through the old ghost town of Oblivion. This area was used for the setting of the movie The Orphan Train. Also notice the narrow gauge track. Narrow gauge was used for mining purposes. The 1880 train now arrives at its home base of Hill City. With the equipment, memorabilia, and fashion from the steamer days, you would never guess that you were in the diesel era when you arrive here. The Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul Railroad extended west across western South Dakota from 1905 to 1907 in a race to reach Rapid City and the Black Hills. The competition was with the Chicago and Northwestern headed west from Pierre to Rapid City. Traffic that was headed from the Black Hills area kept the line busy until 1980, when the Milwaukee declared bankruptcy and abandoned the Black Hills line. Then the Dakota Southern resumed service to shippers along the line as far as Kadoka from their headquarters at Chamberlain in 1989. The SD9s that the Dakota Southern uses are original Milwaukee units that saw service here in the Milwaukee days. A wide variety of motive power can be seen in operation here, including vintage Alco diesels. The two SD9s are heading east outside of Draper. They are on their way to Vivian to pick up some ballast which will be laid on the line east of Vivian before hauling their grain shipment to Chamberlain. In the small town of Vivian, the SD9s roll past the old Milwaukee Road Depot. The depot was constructed in 1906 for the Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul Railroad and is still used as a storage building. Many depots along the old Milwaukee line are still in place today. The Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy built the main line as far as Edgemont in 1889, and from that point pushed into Wyoming Territory and the famed High Line branch into Deadwood in 1890. CB&Q and later Burlington Northern trains operated over the High Line as far as Deadwood until November 1983, and on the southern end of Custer until 1986, when all of the remaining High Line, minus the Black Hills Central branch at Hill City, was finally abandoned. Today, a large number of coal, grain, and freight trains pass on the main line at Edgemont. It is a link in the busiest main line in America, which extends from Gillette, Wyoming to Alliance, Nebraska. For the train watcher, the action is nearly non-stop. We will start our journey of the southwestern coal line in Dewey. A set of SD70 Max roll into the siding while 4 westbounds await on the main line on their way to the mines near Gillette, Wyoming. Number 9426 slowly crawls to a stop in Edgemont for a crew change. Crews from Alliance, Nebraska operate the trains north to Edgemont, then take a separate loaded train back to Alliance, while the Edgemont crews run the westbound empty coal trains to the Wyoming mines near Gillette, load the train, and return them back to Edgemont. In the tiny ranch community of Rumford, we see a 2-train westbound and a 1-train eastbound meet. Our last stop on this line is Ardmore. Ardmore is the southwesternmost town in South Dakota. It rests right on the border of Nebraska. As the 7133 runs through, it will be preparing to stop at Crawford, Nebraska to receive a set of helper units for a climb up Crawford Hill. The Dakota Minnesota and Eastern line from Rapid City to Pierre was originally built from 1905 until 1907 by the CNW as a final link between East and West River, South Dakota. The Dakota 400 operated on this line until its discontinuance in October of 1960. With the help of Senator Larry Pressler, the entire line was sold to the DM&E in 1986, which continues to roll tonnage across the state today. This promotional commercial was produced after the birth of the DM&E.
The railroad, South Dakota's lifeblood. When its owners tried to abandon it, ruin threatened dozens of towns.
It was the bleakest of hours out here for this section of the railroad.
Then Senator Larry Pressler went to work, taking on a fight that many said was hopeless. But Pressler defeated the abandonment, creating a new, stronger railroad.
If it hadn't been for Senator Larry Pressler and his efforts to get this railroad into existence, we probably wouldn't be here today.
DM&E's ex-Milwaukee Road SD10 number 551, nicknamed the City of Brookings, climbs upgrade out of Rapid City for its journey eastbound across the state. The DM&E runs by Ellsworth Air Force Base in the city of Box Elder. The base is known for its B-1 bombers, but a Red Cross plane flies over just before an eastbound rolls through. Now we will follow the colony line of the late Chicago and Northwestern Railroad. The line along the eastern slopes of the Black Hills was built by the Chicago and Northwestern subsidiary of Fremont, Elkhorn, and Missouri Valley Railroad in 1885. The tracks reached Buffalo Gap in 1890. Then the line reached the northern Black Hills boomtowns of Deadwood and Belle Fourche. Heavy tonnages of cattle, manufactured goods, rock, bentonite, and cement have rolled on this line for many years. In 1995, the CNW was merged into the Union Pacific Railroad, creating one of the largest railroads in the country. Much speculation surrounds the ultimate fate of this line. It is not known if the Union Pacific will elect to keep it and operate it, or sell it to the Dakota Minnesota and Eastern or another operator. We will now take a moment to show you some historical photos of the colony line from the early days of its operations to the present. We will start the Chicago and Northwestern on the northern part of the line in Belle Fourche. SD 40-2 number 6902, specially adorned with an Operation Lifesaver logo, pulls the freshly loaded bentonite cars out of town on its way to the Rapid City Yard. In the popular city of Sturgis, the old passenger depot is still standing. It was last used shortly after World War II. Four SD40-2s pull this loaded train up one of the steepest grades on the line east of Sturgis. Various grades are common in the eastern edge of the Black Hills. The longest route of the Chicago and Northwestern's famous 400-passenger fleet, the Dakota 400, began as a Chicago to Huron, South Dakota train in 1950. It connected with the trains for Rapid City at that time and was extended all the way to the foothills of the Black Hills at Rapid City in the mid-1950s to tap the tourist traffic. Unfortunately, the Dakota 400 lost business and its U.S. mail contract, and it ran its last trip to Rapid City on October 25, 1960. Here, the last 400 is shown arriving at Rapid City on that day. After April 23, 1995, Union Pacific's acquirement of the Chicago and Northwestern resulted in some UP power occasionally showing up on the line. Here, UP's long-nose SD40-2, number 3310, leads this loaded train by the Rapid City Roundhouse, which is still used today for diesel servicing and storage. It also has a special section to clean grain cars. GECX Lease C30-7, number 3004, pulls this short train out of the Rapid City Yard southbound toward Chadron, Nebraska. It will then be taken to Crawford, where it will be interchanged with the Burlington Northern. Freshly painted SD40-2 number 6848 pulls this heavy cement train upgrade out of Rapid City, with a regional hospital and cathedral in the background. 6848 was the lead unit on the final train from Long Pine to Chadron, Nebraska on December 1st, 1992, before that line's abandonment. Noted railroad historian and author Rick Mills captures what was CNW's last northbound train before its acquirement by the Union Pacific, going through his hometown of Hermosa. On a warm October evening, the 6882, with the help of some UP power, crawls through Buffalo Gap. This was at one point a key stop in the passenger days for trains running to the Black Hills from Chicago. Our final stop of Western South Dakota railroads is in Oral. A pair of SD 40-2s are northbound for Rapid City.